What's up, guys? Eric here. Driveline World's okay steering wheel holder. I dropped this trailer yesterday morning, but even though I know it's my trailer and the number matches, I still wanted to unlock my lock, because that would be the final confirmation that it is in fact my trailer, because it's my lock. Anyone else get paranoid about that kind of stuff? It's got another lock on it. If my key opens it, then it's my lock. Oh. Woo! It is chilly. Chilly. Now fortunately I did get out of, I got to Springfield yesterday morning with this load that's going to the caves in Carthage. I could have done 2 short drives with it, but I decided last night would be Saturday night. Friday night I decided just to drive 650 miles just to get south of the line of ice and snow. So I ended up being at the Springfield terminal for 24 hours, which is really nice because I got to hang out with a lot of people. In fact, I hung out with more drivers yesterday than I probably have for the last 6 months. Like, it was awesome. So I'm trying to think of, let's see, Todd, Jeremy, Barry. It was awesome meeting you. Ross, obviously, keep moving forward is his channel. Daniel, man, thank you so much for the ride over to Walmart. We went over to Walmart, did some shopping, and then we ended up meeting up with Ross and going over to Jose Locos. And then Ross came over to the terminal, and we hung out in the terminal with a few drivers last night until, I don't know, 11 p.m. So that was really cool. It was good to be here and get south of the storm. Now it is going to catch up with me in Carthage tonight, Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. So I'm not going to be able to avoid the snow, but I think and I hope I'll be able to avoid the ice. Anyway, in this video, I talked to Daniel in this video about just some of the various opportunities at Prime, whether you want to come here and view Prime as a starter company, or you want to come here to build something and then move on, or you want to come make a career at Prime. I talk about it all the time about how there's lots of different avenues and paths and opportunities at Prime, and he has some kind of unique perspective or some plans. He's juggling some ideas, one of which I hadn't heard before. So we're going to talk to him, and then in the end I'll be finishing up the video inside the caves over in Carthage when I get over there. So all that and more, stand by, be right back. All right, guys, so as I was saying, with Prime, there's plenty to bitch about, as there would be with any company. But there's also open doors for a lot of different opportunities, a lot of different ways to look at trucking. And, some people leave and find better avenues that way. And some people, a lot of people find different ways to operate within the Prime model. And Daniel here, who's been a subscriber on the channel, but also he and Jenna and he have been talking for quite a while through one of the group threads with a lot of drivers we have, and been hanging out with him. He's brought me over here to Walmart to pick up some things, but he's got some interesting things that he's kind of considering. I mean, what would you what are the things that you're maybe kicking around doing, and why would that maybe work in the Prime model if you decided to stay?
I'm really wanting to move towards a little more independence while staying with Prime. There are a lot of great things about Prime. A lot of great freight at Prime. As much as the negativity you do hear about, the freight network with Prime, there is money to be made, and there are opportunities that Prime present drivers, even standard lease operators, that definitely make it easier for us to take the next step into being a little more independent. One thing I am considering is moving away from just a standard lease and getting into even a cheaper truck, and trying to mitigate costs and get into my own authority and run my own authority at Prime, even if it is just one truck for the time being, because it can be pretty pricey, running your own authority, especially if you have multiple trucks.
And you had an interesting, I'd never even considered it. He was talking about potentially, and guys, this may not even be possible. I would think that it would be possible, but he's talking about if you go into like a cheaper used truck to mitigate those costs, as he's saying, and then also in lieu of that, maybe getting a newer truck or a new truck that runs under the lease purchase program.
Yeah, under Prime's authority. Yep.
Under Prime's authority, and so that you've got, because he has a baby on the way too, and I relate to that. That's really tough. But that kind of avenue would allow him to be home more because he's mitigated those costs, but also be buying a newer truck with Prime company drivers in it, and sort of running a little bit of a mini fleet. So that's interesting. I had never thought of how you could utilize both of those avenues to achieve what I've done, only going through one of those avenues, but with a much lower overhead, much lower liability. Because as you guys know, me having a fleet without a paid off truck almost financially devastated me. And so that's kind of interesting. So right now, he's training, TNT training. God bless him for that. I can't do it. It's not me. But I mean, is that kind of the avenue you're staying for the short term and just looking to move out? Or?
The TNT training, the idea of it is to really try to use it to afford the costs of the startups for your own authority and purchasing a significantly cheaper truck than what you see running around, even around Prime, and using those low costs, even if the insurance is going to be pretty substantial for a new authority over the first year or so, the costs are still going to be much less. So I could probably see myself staying with TNT training at least through 2025 until all of those ducks are in a row, with purchasing a cheaper truck. The truck I'm looking at is actually a manual truck, so there are, it kind of limits myself with being able to train, because pretty much everybody that's coming through Prime nowadays has a manual restriction or auto restriction on their license. And running solo with a cheap truck, and getting to the point to where I can consider doing a lease purchase truck with Prime to have that new reliable truck, with a new warranty and stuff, and might even consider jumping into that truck, kind of putting the cheaper truck, just letting it sit for a little bit, and jumping into the lease purchase truck, and possibly getting back into training until I could find the right driver to run that truck, and kind of help. Once you get that new lease purchase, it's big financial burden. So trying to help cut some of those costs down by running some team freight for a little bit might help, especially training somebody how I want them to run my truck versus just trying to hire somebody through an interview process. Might help make things a little bit smoother with finding the right person. Like, you've got plenty of drivers that are committed to you and understand, you know, that these are, you know, it's all about business, you know, and it's all about money, and they respect you and they respect your property.
Yeah, so there you have it. If you're thinking about coming to Prime or looking at it as a starter company or something like that, think the way he does, and that's try to be, you know, come either with a plan or come prepared to make a plan. I preach it all the time on the channel. Don't be here for 10 or 20 years with nothing to show for it or no direction, especially if you're young, have kids or kids on the way. That's brutal. Come with a plan or prepared to create a plan. And there's lots of opportunity, lots of different ways you can build a business with Prime, or get on an avenue to go outside of Prime. He's also talked about potentially going to run in oil fields, right?
Yeah, oil fields, yeah.
So, you know, with the experience here and the ability here to go buy maybe an older truck or something and go do something more specialized outside of Prime, there's just lots of avenues. So, but the important thing is to have a plan or be ready to make a plan. Don't just come here and drive with, you know, not looking forward to tomorrow or something like that, because it will beat you up psychologically and can beat you up financially too.
Yeah, I will say, in my time at Prime, I've been here going on 3 years. My plans have changed many times, but my end goal has always been to be my own boss, to make as much money as I possibly can, and to get to a point to where I can comfortably run things without having to be in the middle of things. And I stepped away from Prime for about 8 months, and I went and worked for another company as a company driver, and then I stepped away from that and went and ran with a much smaller outfit, did something that I've always wanted to do as a truck driver, and it led me back to Prime, and it allowed me to broaden my outlook on trucking now that I've experienced more than just driving strictly for Prime. But at the end of the day, I realized that most of my ambition came from being at Prime, and a lot of the opportunities that I hope to have or have already are because of Prime and what Prime does offer. We're starting to sound like Prime sympathizers.
Doesn't matter, man. No matter what we do in this video, we're going to be accused of being Prime fanboys and Prime haters. All right, guys. Daniel, I appreciate it. I'll be back here shortly, but he's also potentially, maybe, starting a YouTube channel at some point in the future. If he does, I'll make sure and bring that up. But all right, guys, I'll be back with you shortly. This may be the easiest dock I've ever had in the caves. I got nobody on this side, nobody on the other side. Right here, and that was a straight back. Somebody wrote a very large high right there. Like, who took the time for that? But anyway, I was able to swing through here, turn around, go straight up, and then just come straight back. So easily one of the easiest docks I've ever had. I'm way back here. I got no internet, I got nothing. But Jenna and I have been around the corner further back. So there's only one more set of docks that are further back than I am. But this is ideal. But I was thinking about it, like, can you imagine the weight that's up there on top of that? I mean, we're way down, but there's not only is there all that earth up above this, but there's buildings and stuff up there too. So all that weight is on these columns. All that earth and granite and buildings is sitting on these columns, man. So you would probably not want to be down here during an earthquake, man. I'll be honest with you. I hope this is quick because I don't have a battery cutoff switch. So I turned off my inverter, my fridge and everything. But if they take a while, man, I'm just gonna let my APU start up because I ain't gonna be stuck in here without batteries, you know what I mean? Even though I have most stuff off. Oh, another problem I'm having, I would like to know if you guys have a solution for this with Geotab. When I was on the other side, my Geotab got stuck in drive when I was checking in the other tunnel where Americold is. It got stuck on drive. So, and it just would not, because it couldn't connect. It was just the top left X was just spinning. So I was like, crap, man, if they give me a dock inside here, I don't know if this thing's just going to be stuck on drive and thus can't be edited. So fortunately, they sent me out over the hill back into this side of the cave. So I stopped outside of the caves and made sure it was on duty yard movement before I came in this side. So at least if it got stuck, I could edit that status. I could edit those logs afterwards. But I'd be curious to know if you came back here and somehow it got stuck on drive, how do you fix? I mean, if you're sitting here for 4 or 5 hours and it logs drive and you can't edit the drive line, how do you fix that? I wonder if there's, inquiring minds want to know. Anyway, we're getting unloaded here, and then we'll deal with the problems ahead after this. All right, so last night, so I was at the terminal for 24 hours because I cracked out that 650 miles so that I could get south of the ice. So I'm in Joplin right now, sort of area. And last night they were trying to pre-plan me on these loads that were, it's like, no, man, that is not, you know, like $4 or $5 is a mile. It sounds great, but if it's only going 100 miles to Kansas City and I can't get to Kansas City and end up having to sit for 2 days, then no, that doesn't work. So finally so I was hanging out with the guys there at Millennium Building last night after we went out to dinner. And when I got back to my truck, they reached out and was like, hey, we got one. If you don't want to do that one, we have one that's paying $700 for 107 miles. And I'm still a no. And I'll tell you why. The reason why is that it goes from here in the caves to Kansas City. Now, a lot of drivers will just take that because they'll be like $7 a mile. Shit, man, $7 a mile. Yeah, but there's two things going on here. First of all, it's a live load on both sides. So it's not just driving 100 miles. Especially here in the caves, you need to include probably 3 hours total for check-in, getting loaded, all that good stuff on this end. And then the place that it was going to, you got probably 3 or 4 hours minimum of sitting, right? So you have all that involved. But then the second thing is you can't get to Kansas City from Joplin right now. And it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. Tonight, which is Sunday, it's snow all the way from the Arkansas-Missouri border, all the way, you know, like Kansas City is just getting absolutely bitch slapped tonight. So they've got the ice right now, but the heavy, heavy snow is now starting, and that's just going to continue piling on. So basically, if I have to sit on a $700 load for 2 days, pushing me into Tuesday, then that may be the only load that I get for the rest of this settlement period. And that would be, and it is going to be a minimum of 2 days. There's no way you can get up there tomorrow morning for delivery. So I'm telling them this. I'm like, no, I'm not. There's no way I can get up there and get that delivery and come back. Well, we can just push it out. You know, the customers understand weather. We can just push it out. Yeah, but that makes my revenue $350 per day with the prospect of not getting another load in this week. No, I'll sit today. I'll sit, and if I have to sit and then start working on the next settlement period this early, fine. But I'll sit and wait for this shit to pass and get something with some meaningful miles, and some meaningful revenue. I'm not. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I've got. There was about 33 mile per hour crosswinds coming up to Carthage from Joplin, just hitting me right from the side. So that's another thing is, I'm not down to be dragging an empty trailer in these slick conditions with that kind of, I know it's not extreme wind. It's kind of like it's right at the border of what I find acceptable for an empty trailer. That's when it's crosswind like that. So I already don't want to do the 10 or so miles back to Joplin in that kind of wind. But it is what it is. We'll have to do that. What I'll probably do is just go get a washout, run the dry setting on the reefer to make sure I get it all dried out so it doesn't just freeze into solid ice in there. And then just, if I'm not gonna get sent anything that's got, going south or some other direction or has some miles, so at least if I have to change to 90, I've got a meaningful, good revenue, good mile load that still makes all the days that I would have to sit on it worth it. Unless that's the case, I'm just pushing my PTA out and I'll just go hang out in Joplin. I'm not. No. So, and I'm not bitching at Prime about it. It's a horrible situation, but I just found it kind of humorous that the night guy just couldn't quite, like, he came back explaining, well, the customers will understand weather. Bro, it's not, I know that. I know that. I've been doing this for almost, some 6 years. I know the customers, I know we can change to 90, but this is a 100-mile load. So telling me the customer can change the appointment time for the 90 does not sell me on it. So it's not always about trying to get some big, it just, again, I just find it kind of humorous when, especially the night guys. My fleet manager was a driver for a long time. He ran a fleet of his own with Prime. So he gets it. He's not even going to try and push back. But the night guys that are like, why? This is paying $7 a mile. It's like, dude, there's just so many other variables in that algorithm. It's not just, but it tells me that there are drivers that are just, okay, yay, $7 a mile, let's go. And then they're upset that, they're sitting on a 100-mile load for 3 days. I know that would be a very low cost load and I already have almost half a tank of fuel, but it's just not for me, man, not for me. So getting unloaded here in the caves, and then my strategy of cracking out that 650-mile drive Friday night ended up being the correct thing to do, because it looked like the ice was almost down to Springfield in the radar that I was watching when I was driving down to Springfield. So I told myself, just get to Springfield. 650 miles sucks, but let's just do it and get it over with, and that way we're out of the ice. And that's what ended up happening. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the little conversation about the opportunities at Prime. I've been contacted by a lot of you who are coming to Prime. And Ross, who we went out to dinner with last night, he's in orientation. One of the other guys, man, the dude who had the Blues Brothers car, I cannot remember your name, but I can't tell you how cool that was. He had a black hood and white doors with the searchlight on it and everything. So he's in orientation, getting ready to start his training, and then I've got 2 other guys that I'm working with, just kind of communicating back and forth with it start next week, and I've got a lot of other emails and messages coming in for guys that are coming in throughout January and February. And a lot of the messaging is, is it really a good place to start and get some options and put together a plan? And at the end of the day, the answer is absolutely. Absolutely. And it doesn't matter if you're just looking for a stepping stool, a place to get some experience and go do something else, or if you want to pursue various different options within Prime. All of it, I think for a mega carrier, Prime has an enormous amount of opportunity versus other mega carriers. That's just my opinion, and that's not from experience with other mega carriers, because I don't have experience with other mega carriers. All I can tell you is, what other drivers have told me and what I can see out there available as far as information online. And having, 6 years under my belt with Prime has given me the confidence to say there's a lot of room to explore a lot of different options. There's not just one lane here at Prime, and it's that way or else. There's just a lot of different things you can do, and I think that's one of the attractions of coming to pull freight here. So anyway, I appreciate you guys as always. Be safe, make good decisions, always drive to thrive. I'll talk to y'all soon.